Hello YouTube, Not a Nomad here. I'm here in my home shop looking at a bike for my sister-in-law who wants me to give it a tune-up, and I thought I'd go over some of the things that we normally do in the shop called a basic tune-up. Some people call it a tighten, oil, and adjust, and it pretty much goes over most of the adjustments on the bike to make it in good working condition. So I thought I'd kind of go through each point here, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So anyways, she has an old Specialized Rockhopper, probably 80s, 90s vintage here. That's been sitting in the garage for a number of years, hasn't been ridden. Doesn't have a whole lot of miles on it, so it's time to get it out and take a good look at it and see what we can do for it. The first thing I normally do when we look at a bike like that for a tune-up or any kind of repair work is take a good look at the bike, overall condition of the bike. If it looks damaged, if it has any cracks, any bends in the top or down tube, or bent fork or anything like that, that may cause you to hesitate to fix anything just because of the safety concerns of potential frame failure or fork failure for that matter. This one actually looks pretty good. I don't see any cracks, any damage or anything like that, and I rotated the wheels. The wheels actually look pretty straight, so we'll do a little bit of minor tuning on the wheels and take it from there. Of course, before you do any kind of repair, service work or anything like that, you always want to have a well-lit area and a clean work surface so that if you put any parts down, you can inventory them after the repair is done and make sure that the bench is as clean as when you started, so you didn't forget any parts. I know it sounds simple, but sometimes things do happen and you forget things, especially in the heat of the moment when you're super busy during the season. So I went ahead and I put the bike in my Park PRS 33 repair stand. It's a great repair stand. I know a lot of people don't have access to these, and in fact a lot of shops don't even have the electric lift stands yet. But it's a professional stand. It will lift anything from a heavy e-bike to a tandem to a recumbent, depending on if you can get a place to clamp it. And the nice thing about this repair stand is it puts the work exactly where you need it. I'll show you how that works. So first step is I went ahead and I clamped the seat post onto the clamp, and it's tight and secure. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to the up position, and we'll bring it up to a nice working level. And the nice thing about this repair stand is it puts the work exactly where you need it to be. If you're a shorter person, you can have it a little bit lower. If you're a taller individual, you can raise it up even more than that. And even if you want to work on the crank, you can raise it up to eye level, so it makes the work that much easier. So the first thing I'm going to do on this bike is I'm going to go ahead and shift it down to the small cog. Actually, it is already down to the small cog on the rear. That will make removing the rear wheel that much easier. So I'll go ahead and I'll disconnect the brake. This brake has cantilever brakes, and to disconnect them, you basically just, I don't know if you can see this, but you disconnect this little straddle cable here to open up the brakes. So I'll go ahead and I'll remove the wheel, see if I can move the camera around a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing here a little bit better. I'm doing this all on my own, on the fly. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the rear wheel by pulling the quick release. And quick releases work by a cam action. So you flip the lever, you don't screw it like a wing nut or anything like that. So it's always open, close. So this is in a closed position, it will always curve inward, and open position will curve outward. And they actually do say open, close on the lever itself. So now that I've got the wheel loose, I'll go ahead and I'll pull the derailleur back and push the wheel down. And that will basically come right off the bike frame itself. So this is the rear wheel. And typically what I do is I check the adjustment on the hub bearings, and by just rotating, and this one actually feels very, very smooth. Check it for play. There's no abnormal play or anything like that, so this is pretty good. This is a good start. I'm going to go ahead and throw this wheel on the truing stand and see if we need to true it up a little bit. So I'll walk it over here. And put it up in here. So we'll go ahead and check the wheel. And what I normally like to do before I start truing a wheel is I like to check the tension on the spokes. So starting at the valve as a reference point, I just go ahead and I squeeze each one of these. Make sure that they're all about even tension. I don't have any dead or loose spokes, which could indicate that I have a bend or a twist in the rim itself. So this one actually is starting off pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust my feelers on the truing gauge, bring it in so I can clearly see how straight the wheel is. Grab my spoke wrench here and just find a spot where it might come over in this direction, where I would go ahead and I'd tighten the spokes, pulling the rim in the opposite direction, at the same time loosening the spoke in that general vicinity. And when you true a wheel, typically you don't want to true a wheel all at once in one location. You basically want to kind of work with the wheel as a whole. So make very, very small minor adjustments. Sometimes I turn the spoke wrench an eighth of a turn, sometimes maybe a quarter, but never really crank it down doing 2 or 3 rotations of a spoke nipple on here. So this one's needs a little bit more tension here at the reflector. Loosen the opposing ones and check it again. And typically this just takes a couple minutes, depending on the wheel, you know, the condition of the wheel. But this one actually looks really, really good. So I'll go ahead and remove it out of the truing stand. And go ahead and reinstall it on the bike. I think I'll move the camera around so you can kind of see where I'm working here on this. This might give you a little bit better visual on reinstalling this. So basically, I do the opposite of what I did when I removed the wheel. I go ahead and I pull the derailleur back, make sure I put the chain on the small cog here. That makes it easier to get on. Pull the wheel up, all the way up, and then adjust the quick release. You can adjust the quick release by turning the nut, the adjusting nut. Ideally, you want to have a little bit of tension start at the halfway point. And you want to make sure the wheel is all the way up in the dropouts. You want to make sure it's straight up in the seat stays here, and then also lined up in the chain stays at the bottom there. So this one looks good. I'm going to go ahead and close it. I close it between the 2 stays here, so it's less likely to get caught on anything and loosen accidentally. And then of course I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the brake. And again, this is a cantilever brake. This type basically has a little quick release barrel on the end, and we'll go ahead and put that back on the left brake arm there. All right, now we'll go ahead and check the adjustment on the brake itself. And on cantilever brakes, they have quite a bit of stopping power. They don't have to be right on the rim or anything like that, but if you want a little bit quicker and more powerful brake, you can adjust them a little bit closer. This one looks like it could probably bring the cable in, I don't know, maybe an eighth of